The bridge of the scout ship Horizon was quiet except for the soft beeping of instruments. Captain Daniel Hayes stared at the vast darkness of space through the main viewport. His ship was on a routine patrol at the edge of human territory. For 3 weeks, they had found nothing unusual. He was starting to think this mission would be as uneventful as the last 5. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Lieutenant William Carter, breaking the silence. The young communications specialist sat up straight, his fingers moving quickly across his console. "What is it?" Hayes asked, walking over to Carter's station. "A signal, sir. Not one of ours. Not matching any known alien patterns either." Hayes frowned. Unknown signals were rare these days. Earth had mapped most of its neighboring star systems over the past century. "Can you clean it up?" "Working on it, sir," Carter said, his eyes fixed on his screen. "There's definitely a pattern. It's repeating every 47 seconds. "Could be natural," Hayes suggested, though he didn't believe it himself. "No, sir, too regular, too complex." Carter looked up, his face serious. "This is artificial, and I think it's a distress call." Hayes felt a chill run down his spine. The last time humanity had responded to an alien distress call, it had been a trap that cost them 3 ships and 287 lives. That was 30 years ago, but the memory remained fresh in the minds of Earth's military. "Send it back to command," Hayes ordered after a moment of thought. "Full data package highest priority, and move us to yellow alert." "Yes, sir," Carter replied, already transmitting the signal. Back on Earth, Commander Olivia Daniels was in the middle of a budget meeting when her personal communicator buzzed with an urgent message. She excused herself and stepped out of the conference room. The message was brief. "Unknown alien signal detected, possible distress call, full data incoming." Daniels headed straight to the analysis center, where she found Dr. Eliza Winters already at work. The xenolinguist had been pulled from her lunch break as soon as the signal arrived. "What do we have, Doctor?" Daniels asked. Winters didn't look up from her station. "It's complex, Commander. Definitely a language, but nothing in our database. The structure suggests a highly advanced civilization." "How advanced?" "Based on the signal encoding alone, I'd say at least Type 2 on the Kardashev scale." Daniels raised her eyebrows. Earth was still working toward Type 1 status. A Type 2 civilization would be capable of harnessing the entire energy of their star. They were not to be taken lightly. "And you're sure it's a distress call?" "The repetition pattern is consistent with emergency broadcasts. There's urgency encoded in the mathematical foundation of the message." Winters finally looked up. "Someone out there is in serious trouble. Can you decode what they're saying?" "Give me 48 hours." Daniels nodded. "You have 24. For the next day, the analysis center was a flurry of activity. Additional linguists and cryptographers were called in. The signal was run through every decoding algorithm Earth had developed. Meanwhile, the Horizon continued to monitor, reporting that the signal was growing stronger. 22 hours later, Winters called Daniels back to the center. The commander arrived to find the linguist looking tired but excited. "We've got it," Winters said. "At least the basic message. They call themselves the Athrani." "What happened to them?" Winters brought up a holographic display showing a star system with 7 planets. "They're from here, about 40 light-years from where the Horizon picked up the signal. According to the message, they're under attack by a species called the Vex. Why send a message so far from their home? They've been driven out. Their message says this is the 3rd system the Vex have taken from them in the past year." Winters' expression grew grim. "The Athrani are peaceful. They weren't prepared for war." Daniel studied the display. "And they're asking for help?" "Yes, from anyone who can hear them, but there's more." Winters typed a command and new data appeared. "The Vex aren't just conquering. They're after Athrani technology. The Athrani have developed something called Nexus Drive technology. From what I can gather, it's a form of faster-than-light travel, far more efficient than our jump drives. If the Vex get that technology, they could expand much faster. And based on their trajectory," Winters pointed to a projection showing possible expansion routes. Several paths led directly toward Earth's sector. Daniels was quiet for a long moment. Earth had remained relatively isolated after several hostile first contacts decades ago. The defense fleet existed primarily to protect human colonies, not to get involved in alien conflicts. But if the Vex were as dangerous as they seemed, "Prepare a full briefing," she finally said. "I need to speak with the Security Council." 6 hours later, Daniels stood before the 12 members of Earth's Security Council. She had presented all the data, explained the potential threat, and made her recommendation. Now they were deliberating. Director George Wilson, head of the council, looked skeptical. "You're suggesting we mobilize the entire Armada based on a distress call from aliens we've never even met?" "I'm suggesting we protect our future interests," Daniels replied. "If the Vex obtain this Nexus Drive technology, they could reach our territory within 5 years. Or they might never come our way at all," countered another council member. "Are we willing to take that chance?" Daniels asked. The Athrani message included technical data. If Dr. Winter's analysis is correct, this Nexus Drive could revolutionize our own space travel capabilities. Helping the Athrani not only prevents a potential threat, it could advance our technology by decades. The council fell silent, considering her words. "There's something else," Daniels added. "The Athrani didn't specifically call Earth for help. They just sent out a general distress call. They don't know who we are or what we're capable of. No one does. We've kept the full extent of our military strength hidden for generations." She paused. "Maybe it's time to show the galaxy what humans can do." Wilson exchanged glances with the other council members. After a moment, he nodded. "Very well, Commander. You have authorization to mobilize the Armada. God help us all if you're wrong." Daniels felt the weight of the decision settle on her shoulders. "Send the orders," she said, to her aide as she left the council chamber. "Full mobilization, all fleets. I want every ship ready within 72 hours. Across the solar system, dormant warships began powering up their systems. Crews were recalled from leave. Weapons were loaded. For the first time in 50 years, Earth was going to war, and no one in the galaxy was prepared for what that meant. News of the mobilization spread quickly across Earth and its colonies. For decades, most civilians had lived their lives barely aware of the military forces protecting them. The defense fleet operated quietly, keeping its true strength hidden from potential enemies. Now, that was about to change. Admiral Jason Mitchell stood on the observation deck of Luna Command, watching as dormant warships powered up their systems in the orbital shipyards. The massive vessels had been disguised as civilian stations, research outposts, or simply kept in storage hangars beneath the lunar surface. As their running lights came on one by one, the true scale of Earth's military might become visible. "Impressive, isn't it?" said a voice behind him. Mitchell turned to see Major Lisa Blackwood approaching. The special operations tactician had been summoned from Mars training grounds as soon as the mobilization order went out. 300 years of paranoia finally paying off, Mitchell replied with a slight smile. "My grandfather helped design those Thunderbolt-class destroyers. Never thought I'd see them all active at once." "How many ships are we looking at?" Blackwood asked, joining him at the viewport. "From my northern fleet alone? 76 capital ships, 142 support vessels. And that's just what's based around Luna." Mitchell turned to face her. "What about your teams?" 8,000 special ops personnel ready for deployment. We've been training for alien environments for years but never expected to actually use it to help aliens. In another part of the lunar complex, engineer Samuel Rivera worked frantically in the main hangar of Earth's flagship, the Defender. The massive warship dwarfed everything else in the fleet. Over 2 kilometers long, it had been built in sections and assembled in secret over 20 years. Now Rivera and his team were rushing to install the final experimental weapon systems. "Careful with those plasma conduits," he shouted to a team moving equipment. "One crack and you'll vaporize half the deck." Rivera checked his tablet, reviewing the remaining work. The quantum displacement system was only at 68% operational capacity. It had never been field tested. The technology was based on theoretical, physics that most scientists still debated. But if it worked, it would give Earth ships an advantage unlike anything seen before. His communicator buzzed. Rivera here. This is Commander Daniels. I need a status report on the Defender. Rivera looked around at the organized chaos of the hangar. Main systems are at 92% readiness, conventional weapons fully loaded. The QD system needs another 36 hours. You have 24, Daniels replied. We move out tomorrow. Meanwhile, in the Earth Defense Command conference room, Director Wilson faced Commander Daniels with growing frustration. You pushed the Council into this decision, he said, his voice low but intense. If this goes wrong, if we expose ourselves only to find ourselves overwhelmed by a superior enemy, the Vex aren't superior, Daniels interrupted. Not yet. That's the point of this intervention. We can't let them acquire the Athrani technology. And what if the Athrani turn on us once we help them? What if they're the real threat? Daniels spread her hands on the table. That's always a risk. But the Horizon has been monitoring their communications for days now. Dr. Winters has decoded enough to confirm they're genuine. They're a peaceful species facing extinction. Wilson walked to the window, looking out at the clouds over the Pacific Ocean. My job is to protect Earth, not alien civilizations we've never met. Sometimes the best way to protect Earth is to make allies, Daniel said softly. We've been hiding our strength for generations. Maybe it's time to show the galaxy that humans are a force to be reckoned with, and that we stand for something, more than just our own survival. Wilson didn't reply for a long moment. Finally, he turned back. The Council vote stands. But I want daily reports once the Armada moves out. If anything changes, if there's any sign this is a mistake, I won't hesitate to order a full retreat. Understood. Daniels nodded. She left the room, heading immediately to the command center where the fleet coordination was underway. The command center was a massive circular room, its walls covered with holographic displays showing the positions of every ship in Earth's defense forces. Officers moved between stations, coordinating the unprecedented mobilization. Status report, Daniels called as she entered. Northern Fleet at 86% readiness, reported an officer. Southern at 82%. Pacific at 91%. Atlantic reports all ships will be ready within 6 hours. And the colonies? Mars Defense Force is already moving to the rendezvous point. Jupiter stations report 79% readiness. Saturn's Rings fleet is fully operational and awaiting orders. Daniel studied the main display, where blue dots representing Earth ships were beginning to move from their various positions throughout the solar system. Never before had all of Earth's forces been gathered in one place. The sight was both awe-inspiring and sobering. What about the civilian reaction? She asked her aide. Mixed, the young woman replied. Some panic, but mostly support. The news that we're mobilizing to help another species has actually been received quite positively. Good. We need the public behind us on this. Daniels straightened her uniform. I'll need to make an address once the fleet is assembled. As day turned to night across Earth, the mobilization continued at extraordinary speed. Ships that had been in standby mode for years came fully online. Crews who had trained endlessly but never seen combat prepared their stations. Weapons that had been theoretical a generation ago were loaded and armed. In orbit above Saturn, Admiral Cooper's Pacific Fleet assembled, 93 warships arranged in perfect formation. From Mars, the Colonial Defense Forces launched, their sleek vessels optimized for speed. Near Jupiter, mining stations transformed, dropping their civilian disguises to reveal heavy gun batteries and missile tubes. The public watched in amazement as their screens showed more and more ships gathering. Most had no idea that Earth possessed such military power. The secret had been kept for so long that even many government officials were shocked by the scale of the Armada. By midnight, Eastern Standard Time, the reports coming into Earth Command showed nearly 500 combat-ready vessels assembled or en route to the gathering point beyond the orbit of Neptune. It was the largest fleet ever created by human hands, and still, more ships were joining hourly. On the Defender's bridge, Commander Daniels prepared to take command of the assembled forces. She had reviewed the final intelligence from the Horizon, which continued to monitor the Athrani transmissions. The situation was growing more desperate by the hour. The Vex forces were closing in on the last Athrani refugee ships. "We need to move," she said to Admiral Mitchell, who stood beside her on the bridge. "How soon can we jump?" Mitchell checked the fleet status on his tablet. "Lead elements can depart in 2 hours. The full fleet will need 4. "That's too long," Daniels frowned. "Prepare the first wave for immediate departure. The Defender will lead, along with the Northern and Pacific capital ships. The rest can follow as they arrive at the jump point." "Understood." Mitchell nodded, already issuing the orders. As Daniels looked out at the stars, she felt the weight of command more heavily than ever before. Earth was about to reveal itself to the galaxy in dramatic fashion. There would be no going back to the shadows after this. For better or worse, humanity was stepping onto the galactic stage, and they were going to make one hell of an entrance. The first wave of Earth's Armada emerged from jump space at the coordinates provided in the Athrani distress signal. Commander Daniels stood on the bridge of the Defender, watching as ship after ship appeared beside them. The massive display showed 76 warships now present, with hundreds more on the way. "Scan the area," Daniels ordered. "Find those Athrani ships." Lieutenant Kyle Patterson worked quickly at the sensor station. "Multiple contacts detected, Commander. 23. Small vessels, heavily damaged. They appear to be civilian craft." He paused. "And I'm picking up attack ships pursuing them. Design unknown, but they're firing weapons." "Show me," Daniels said. The main screen shifted to show a group of sleek, silver ships fleeing from larger, dark vessels with jagged edges. Weapons fire connected the two groups, with several of the silver ships already trailing debris. "Those are our Athrani," said Dr. Winters, who had joined the bridge crew for the first contact, "and those pursuing them must be the Vex." Daniels didn't hesitate. "General Johnson, deploy the fleet. Defensive positions around those civilian ships. Ambassador Chen, prepare to open communications." General Eric Johnson, the tactical fleet commander, immediately began issuing orders. Earthships moved with precision, forming a barrier between the fleeing Athrani vessels and their pursuers. "The Vex ships are altering course," Patterson reported. "They're moving to engage us." "Let them come," Daniel said calmly. "No first strike, but if they fire on us, you are cleared to respond with full force." The bridge fell silent as they watched the approaching Vex vessels. There were 32 of them, each about half the size of Earth's smallest destroyers. They moved in an attack formation, clearly intending to sweep aside this new obstacle. "They're scanning us," Patterson said. "Heavy energy signatures. I think they're charging weapons." "Hold position," Daniels ordered. The lead Vex ship fired, a beam of energy streaking toward the Earth cruiser Valiant. It struck the ship's shields, which flared bright blue but held firm. "Return fire," Johnson ordered. "Targeted response only." 2 Earth destroyers fired simultaneously, precision energy weapons striking the Vex ship that had attacked. Its shields failed immediately and the ship broke apart. "My God," someone whispered. "One shot." The Vex fleet hesitated, clearly surprised by the effectiveness of Earth's weapons. Then, as if deciding this was a fluke, they pressed forward, all ships firing at once. Earth's fleet responded with devastating efficiency. Weapons that had been developed over decades but never used in actual combat proved their worth. Particle, beams, quantum torpedoes, and graviton pulses tore through Vex defenses. Within minutes, 7 Vex ships had been destroyed and 3 more were drifting, disabled. The remaining Vex vessels turned and fled. "They're retreating," Johnson announced. "Should we pursue?" "Negative," Daniels replied. "Our priority is the Athrani." Ambassador Chen, open communications. Ambassador Zara Chen, Earth's diplomatic representative, stepped forward. "Channel open, Commander." "This is Commander Olivia Daniels of the Earth Defense Fleet," she said clearly. "We received your distress call and have come to offer assistance. Please respond." For a moment, there was silence. Then the screen flickered, showing an alien face. The Athrani had delicate features, large eyes with vertical pupils, and skin that seemed to shimmer with a subtle blue glow. "I am Kalar, leader of the Athrani survivors," the alien said, Its voice translated through Dr. Winter's program. You came to help us? Who are you? We are humans from Earth, Daniels explained. We detected your distress signal and decoded your message about the Vex threat. Kalar's eyes widened. We sent that signal hoping someone might hear. We never expected. The alien paused, seeming overcome with emotion. The Vex have destroyed our homeworld. They hunt us through the stars. We have lost almost everything. Your ships are damaged, Daniel said. We can offer repairs and protection. Why would you help us? Kalar asked. You know nothing of our people. Daniel smiled slightly. Because it's the right thing to do, and because the Vex threat concerns all peaceful species. While this conversation continued, the rest of Earth's first wave secured the area. Fighter squadrons deployed, establishing a defensive perimeter. Engineer teams prepared to assist the damaged Athrani vessels. Ambassador, Chen stepped closer to the screen. We would like to learn more about your people and about the Vex threat. Would you be willing to come aboard our ship? Kalar agreed, and within an hour, a small Athrani shuttle docked with the Defender. Kalar and 2 other Athrani were escorted to the ship's conference room, where Daniels, Chen, Winters, and Johnson waited. The aliens moved gracefully despite their obvious exhaustion. They stared in wonder at the size and technology of the Earth vessel. Your military capability is unexpected, Kalar said as they sat down. We have encountered many species in our exploration, but none with such powerful weapons. We prefer peace, Chen explained. But we've learned to be prepared for war. Kalar nodded sadly. We were not prepared. The Vex came suddenly, taking our outer colonies first. By the time we understood what was happening, it was too late. The alien touched a device on its wrist, projecting a holographic map of their home system. Our homeworld fell 2 months ago. We are all that remain of our government. How many of your people survived? Johnson asked. Perhaps 40,000, spread across various refugee ships. Most are in hiding. Kalar looked down. We were billions once. The humans exchanged glances, the scale of the tragedy sinking in. And the Vex? Daniels asked. What do you know of their capabilities? They are conquerors, one of the other Athrani said. This one was introduced as Miral, a scientist. They take technology from the species they defeat. They have grown stronger with each victory. What they want from us is our Nexus drive, Kalar explained. It allows travel between stars, far more efficiently than conventional methods. Dr. Winters leaned forward. That's what we decoded from your message. You believe they'll use this technology to expand their empire? We know they will, Miral said firmly. They have done it before. As they talked, Lieutenant Patterson entered the conference room. Commander, the second wave of our fleet has arrived. Admiral Mitchell reports all ships in position. Daniels nodded. Good. And the Vex? Our scouts report they're regrouping. A much larger force is gathering near the edge of this system, at least 200 ships. Kalar's face showed alarm. That would be most of their main battle fleet. They must have called for reinforcements when you destroyed their attack group. Let them come, Johnson said confidently. Our full fleet will number over 500 vessels when the third wave arrives. The Athrani looked stunned. 500 warships? How can any civilization maintain such a force? Daniels and Chen exchanged glances. Earth has been cautious, Chen explained carefully. Our early contacts with other species were not always peaceful. We learned to keep our strength hidden to avoid drawing unwanted attention. Until now, Kalar said, understanding dawning. You have revealed yourselves by coming to our aid. Daniels nodded. Sometimes, standing aside is no longer an option. As they continued discussing strategy, news arrived that the Vex had sent a communication. A message from the Vex commander, identifying himself as Vexthor. Put it through, Daniels ordered. The screen showed a harsh, angular face with red eyes and gray armored skin. Unknown vessels, the Vex commander growled. You interfere in matters that do not concern you. The Athrani are our rightful conquest. Withdraw or be destroyed. Daniels stood, facing the screen. This is Commander Daniels of Earth. The Athrani are under our protection now. Any attack against them will be considered an attack against humanity. Vex Thor's expression showed confusion, then contempt. Earth? We know of no such world. Your ships are impressive, but you cannot stand against the might of the Vex Empire. Perhaps, Daniels replied calmly, you should count our ships before you make such claims. As if on cue, the third wave of Earth's Armada emerged from jump space. Hundreds more warships appeared on the tactical display, arranging themselves in battle formation. Vex Thor's eyes widened slightly, the only indication of surprise on his alien face. Without another word, the communication ended. Kalar looked at Daniels with newfound hope. You have bought us time, but the Vex will not retreat for long. We're counting on that, Daniels said, because now we bring the fight to them. The main display on the Defender showed the advancing Vex fleet. 217 warships moved in tight formation, approaching the position where Earth's Armada waited. Commander Daniels studied the enemy's approach, noting their organized battle lines. They're confident, observed Admiral Mitchell, despite our earlier demonstration. They don't know what they're facing, Daniels replied. Let's show them. The command center was a flurry of controlled activity, as Earth's forces prepared for the largest space battle in human history. Lieutenant Patterson coordinated weapons systems across the fleet, while Dr. Brooks, the military strategist, fed battle predictions through his specialized AI. Commander, Brooks called from his station, I've analyzed their approach pattern. They're using a standard pincer movement, trying to envelope our flanks. Daniels nodded. Exactly what we expected. General Johnson, implement Battle Plan Echo. Johnson sent the commands and the Earth fleet began to shift. Instead of holding position in a defensive wall, the ships rearranged into multiple smaller groups. It appeared as if Earth's forces were breaking apart, creating gaps in their line. The Vex are adjusting course, Patterson reported. They're moving to exploit our apparent weakness. Perfect. Daniels smiled slightly. Commander Lewis, is your fighter squadron ready? Commander Sophia Lewis's voice came through clear on the comm. Strike Force Alpha ready, Commander. 80 fighters fueled and armed. Launch when the Vex commit to their new course. On the tactical display, the Vex fleet surged forward, accelerating toward the gaps in Earth's formation. They clearly believed they had found a fatal flaw in the human defense strategy. They're committed, Johnson announced, executing Phase 2. Suddenly, the Earth ships that had appeared to be retreating turned sharply, creating a trap of their own. As the Vex force pushed into what they thought was a weakness, they found themselves surrounded on 3 sides. Strike Force Alpha, launch now, Daniels ordered. From the hangar bays of a dozen Earth carriers, fighter squadrons poured out. Small, agile craft that the Vex had not yet encountered. Commander Lewis led the first wave, her voice steady as she directed her pilots. Target their support vessels first, she instructed. Groups of 3 hit and fade. The Earth fighters moved with incredible speed, diving into the Vex formation. Their precision strikes targeted weapon systems and engines on the smaller Vex vessels. The Vex are launching fighters of their own, Patterson warned. As expected, Brooks said, watching his predictive models play out exactly as calculated. They're diverting forces to deal with our fighters. Now, Admiral Cooper, Daniels ordered. Admiral Ryan Cooper's Pacific Fleet had been hiding in wait behind a nearby moon. At Daniels' command, they emerged, closing the trap completely. The Vex fleet was now surrounded on all sides. All ships open fire, Daniels commanded. Earth's warships unleashed their full arsenal. Energy weapons, missile barrages, and graviton disruptors all struck the Vex fleet simultaneously. The synchronized attack overwhelmed the Vex shields, causing dozens of their ships to break apart or go dark. On the bridge of the Vex command ship Annihilator, Vex Thor watched in growing alarm as his fleet suffered unprecedented losses. How is this possible? He demanded of his officers. These humans were unknown to us. How can they possess such weapons? Their technology appears more advanced than we estimated, his tactical officer admitted. And their coordination is perfect. Vex Thor snarled. Launch the second wave. Deploy the heavy cruisers from the reserve. Back on the Defender, Patterson detected the new Vex ships joining the battle. Commander, additional Vex forces detected, larger vessel class, heavily armed. They're bringing in their heavyweights, Johnson observed. Daniels nodded. Time to use our own. Engineer Rivera, status of the quantum displacement system? Rivera's voice came through from engineering. Online and charged, Commander. But I must remind you it's never been tested in combat. No time like the present. Target the largest Vex cruisers and execute on my mark. The battle intensified as the new Vex vessels joined the fight. These were true capital ships, dwarfing their earlier opponents. Their weapons fire was devastating, breaking through the shields of two Earth destroyers and causing significant damage. Earth vessels are taking damage in Sector 4, Patterson reported. The Valiant and Resolute report shield failures. Order them to fall back, Daniels said. Dr. Brooks, do you have targeting solutions for the QD system? Brooks nodded. 6 primary targets identified. Calculations complete. Engineer Rivera, you may fire when ready. Rivera acknowledged the order. On the tactical display, 6 Earth ships, including the Defender, began to emit strange energy signatures. Then in an instant they vanished. The Vex commanders had no time to react. The 6 Earth vessels reappeared inside the Vex formation, literally within the defensive perimeters of their largest ships. Before the Vex could adjust their shields or bring weapons to bear, the Earth ships fired at point-blank range. The results were catastrophic for the Vex. 3 of their largest cruisers were destroyed instantly. The others suffered critical damage, as Earth weapons bypassed their shields entirely. Quantum displacement successful, Rivera reported, his voice showing both relief and amazement. All test ships have reappeared at designated coordinates. The Vex fleet is breaking formation, Patterson announced. They appear to be attempting to retreat. Not so fast, Daniels said. Major Blackwood, are your teams ready? Major Lisa Blackwood's voice came through the comm. Special Ops teams ready for deployment, Commander. The Annihilator is your target. Disable, don't destroy. We want their commander. Blackwood acknowledged the order. Small, stealth craft launched from Earth carriers, heading for the Vex flagship. Using the confusion of battle as cover, they approached undetected. Meanwhile, the Vex fleet was in disarray. They had never encountered a force that could teleport past their defenses. Their coordinated formation had dissolved into individual ships trying to escape. Admiral Mitchell, prevent their retreat, Daniels ordered. I want as many of their ships captured intact as possible. The Athrani scientists will want to study their technology. Mitchell's northern fleet moved to cut off the Vex escape routes. Fighter squadrons disabled engines and weapon systems, while larger vessels used tractor beams to capture crippled Vex ships. On the Annihilator, Vex Thor ordered a full retreat. All ships, jump to safety coordinates. We must regroup and, his words were cut short as the ship shook violently. Warning alarms blared throughout the vessel. What was that? He demanded. Unknown, his security chief replied. Something has breached our hull in multiple locations. Before he could respond further, the bridge doors exploded inward. Through the smoke, armored figures entered, human special forces led by Major Blackwood. Vex Thor, Blackwood said through her suit's translator. In the name of Earth and the Athrani people, you are now our prisoner. As the battle concluded, Daniels received reports from across the fleet. Earth had lost 7 ships with another 22 damaged. The Vex had lost over 100 vessels with 60 more captured. Kalar stood on the Defender's bridge, watching the tactical display in amazement. In one day, you have done what we could not do in a year of fighting. You have broken the Vex. Advance. This was just their forward fleet, Daniels reminded the Athrani leader. Their empire still stands. Yes, Kalar agreed. But now they know there is a force in the galaxy that can oppose them. And for the first time since they began their conquest, they know fear. The Earth Armada regrouped, salvaging what they could. From the battlefield, Athrani refugees began to emerge from hiding, drawn by news of the victory. And in the brig of the Defender, Vexthor awaited interrogation, his thoughts dark with the realization that his empire had awakened a sleeping giant. Earth had revealed itself to the galaxy, and the stars would never be the same again. 3 days after the battle, Earth ships arrived at what remained of the Athrani homeworld. The once beautiful planet showed terrible scars of the Vex invasion. Cities lay in ruins, and vast areas of land had been stripped of resources. Commander. Daniel stood on the observation deck of the Defender, looking down at the devastation. Kalar stood beside her, the Athrani's eyes filled with sorrow. "Our home," Kalar said softly. "It will take generations to heal. We'll help you," Daniels promised. Earth has experienced rebuilding after disaster. Around the planet, Earth ships established defensive positions. Scouts reported no Vex presence in the system, but no one believed they would stay away for long. The battle had been a significant defeat for the Vex, but not a final one. In the Defender's conference room, Major Blackwood conducted the interrogation of Vexthor. The Vex commander had been resistant at first, but after learning more about Earth's military capabilities, he had become more cooperative. "The Vex Empire spans 12 star systems," Vexthor explained, his harsh voice translated through Dr. Winter's program. "We have conquered 6 species before the Athrani." "And what happens to those species?" Blackwood asked. Vexthor's expression showed no remorse. "The useful ones serve, the others are removed." Blackwood shared this information with Commander Daniels and the Earth leadership. The scale of the Vex threat was larger than they had initially believed. "They'll retaliate," Admiral Mitchell warned during the command briefing. "Their pride won't allow this defeat to stand." "Let them come," General Johnson said firmly. "We'll be ready." Daniels wasn't so certain. "We won on surprise this time. They'll adapt their tactics now that they know what we're capable of." Engineer Rivera, who had joined the briefing, spoke up. "We should adapt too. The Athrani Nexus drive technology could be integrated with our quantum displacement system. From what we've learned, the combination could give us unprecedented tactical advantages." "How long would that take?" Daniels asked. "With Athrani help? Maybe a month." "We may not have a month," Admiral Cooper pointed out. "Our long-range scouts report increased Vex activity at the edge of this sector. They're gathering a much larger force." Daniels considered this information. "Then we need to establish a stronger position here while we prepare, and we need allies." Ambassador Chen, who had been working closely with the Athrani survivors, entered the conference room with Kalar and another Athrani who was introduced as Kashara, a planetary leader who had escaped the initial invasion. "The Athrani have sent messages to their trade partners in nearby systems," Chen reported. "Several species who feared confronting the Vex alone have expressed interest in joining an alliance now that Earth has demonstrated the Vex can be defeated." Kashara stepped forward. "My people are not warriors, but we have resources, technology, and knowledge of this region of space. All of these we offer to our human friends. And we have discovered something important," Kalar added. "In our oldest records, there are stories of another species who once fought the Vex many generations ago. They were driven into hiding, but they may still exist." "Do you know where to find them?" Daniels asked. "We have coordinates for a system where they were last known to dwell. It is distant, but with your faster ships." Daniels nodded. "We'll send a diplomatic mission. If there are others who have fought the Vex, we need their knowledge." As the meeting concluded, word arrived that President Allison Rivera, Earth's political leader, had arrived in the system aboard the diplomatic vessel Unity. The president had come personally to see the situation and to formalize Earth's new role in galactic affairs. Commander Daniels greeted President Rivera in the Defender's main hangar bay. The president was accompanied by a small delegation of Earth Security Council, including Director Wilson. "Commander," the president said, shaking Daniels's hand firmly, "Earth owes you a debt of gratitude. Your decision to answer the Athrani call may have saved us from a threat we never saw coming." "Thank you, Madam President, but the fight is far from over." "So I've been told." President Rivera looked around at the busy hangar. That's why I'm here. This is no longer just a military operation. This is the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. The president's visit included a tour of the liberated Athrani capital city. Though damaged, it still showed signs of the beautiful culture that had flourished there. Earth engineers were already working alongside Athrani survivors to restore power and vital systems. In a formal ceremony held in the ancient Athrani council chamber, President Rivera and Kashara signed the first interspecies alliance treaty in Earth's history. The moment was broadcast back to Earth, where billions watched with a mixture of pride and apprehension. Today we step forward as citizens of a larger community, President Rivera said in her address. We end our isolation not for conquest or power, but to defend those who cannot defend themselves and to stand against those who would destroy rather than create. After the ceremony, Commander Daniels found herself looking out over the Athrani capital from a high tower. Engineer Maria Garcia joined her, carrying a tablet with new designs. I've been working with the Athrani engineers, Garcia said excitedly. Look at these. Daniels studied the schematics for new warships that combined Earth and Athrani technology. They were sleeker, faster, and more powerful than anything Earth had built before. How soon can we start production? She asked. We've already begun. The orbital shipyards will be operational within 2 weeks. Daniels nodded approvingly. We'll need them. Later that evening, Daniels received a priority message from one of Earth's scout ships. It had detected a massive Vex fleet assembling, far larger than the force they had defeated. The images showed hundreds of vessels, including types they hadn't encountered before. She immediately called a meeting with Earth's military leadership. The mood was tense but determined as she shared the intelligence. They're preparing for all-out war, Admiral Mitchell concluded after reviewing the data. Then so must we, Daniels replied. But this time, we won't face them alone. As if to emphasize her point, sensors detected new ships entering the system. Kashara's message had been answered. Vessels from 3 different species arrived, representatives of civilizations that had lived in fear of the Vex for too long. From the observation deck, Daniels watched as these alien ships approached, their design strange but their purpose clear. They had come to join the fight. Earth had answered a desperate call for help and revealed its power to the galaxy. In doing so, they had found something humanity had long desired but rarely achieved even among themselves. True allies united by a common cause. The Vex Empire had never faced such opposition before. They had conquered isolated worlds one by one, using fear and overwhelming force against unprepared victims. Now they would face the combined strength of multiple civilizations, led by a species they had never known existed, until it was too late. And at the center of this new alliance stood humanity, no longer hiding in the shadows, but standing proudly in the light of distant stars, ready to defend not just their own world but all worlds that sought peace among the stars. The call had been answered. Earth's Armada was revealed, and the galaxy would never be the same again.